Hello and welcome to the Coaches Cast. Today I've got DeAundre Hill, who's a first-year offensive coordinator over at Crowley High School up in the Metroplex. Uh, Coach Hill and I go back to about 2019-ish when we were coaching together pre-COVID and during COVID a little bit. Of course, at that time he was just a basketball coach. He coached D-line, and now look at him, he's the OC big time and up. So, Coach Hill, how you doing today?
Doing good, brother. How you doing?
Fantastic, man. Uh, After the season wrapped up on our end, I was getting an itch to just talk to coaches again, and we did this kind of back in 2020 during COVID and shutdown, and coaches just didn't have a chance to like get together and do clinics, and so I've been
hmm
having the itch to do this again, and you were one of the top guys I wanted to get on the show because of just where you've been the last few years, and I think you're doing a lot of really good stuff, and I've had a lot of good success the last few years. So thank you for joining us. I know you got a lot going on in the personal life, especially around the holiday season. You are probably episode one of 2026. So, like I said, appreciate you
Let's
doing
get it. Got
this.
to start with a bang.
Let's start with a bang. So, talk me through Crowley High School, man. This was your first year as the OC there. You've been there for what,
Yeah,
two or 3 years?
yeah. 3 years. This
Three
is year
years?
three.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, kind of talk me through 2025 real quick.
So man, where do I start, bro? It was a crazy year to begin with. Last year's success, we ended up as a team. We probably had the best season, um, playoff wise in school history. No team in Crowley had ever been to the third round. We went to the third round, and as you know, coaching, when you have success, that usually means that a lot of things are going to change because a lot of people are moving around, getting jobs, which is always a good thing. You know, like you said earlier, I was an O-line coach the first 2 years, run game coordinator, headed up the run game, a lot of our stuff that we did. Um, but coming on to this year, 2025, it ended up being myself and our running backs coach. We were the only two left on the offensive side of the ball. Our offensive coordinator from last year, Matt McHugh, he ended up getting a job at SMU with Rick Lashley, helping SMU football. So he went to SMU. Um, uh, Another coach that coached O-line with me, Brian Parrish, he went to Richardson Berkner as the offensive coordinator over there. He did some good things over there this year as well. Another wide receiver coach, Josiah Reed, ended up going to Mansfield Summit. So as you can tell, off a good season, a lot of our guys spread their wings and went elsewhere. And so that left me and my running back coach kind of on an island by ourselves. Last spring, we were coaching kind of like we coached in Queen City, bro, with two-way numbers. We had myself and him. We split coaching O-line, quarterbacks, running backs, and wide receivers. So it was kind of moving pieces and moving parts.
Yeah,
And of
yeah.
course, Coach Lynn, he always says he's known for his defense and defensive schemes and all that stuff, but he always said, I can coach offense too. So he jumped in and helped us until we could get a true staff kind of frameworked out to where guys could finish where they were to come to Crowley during spring ball and try to meet the kids and try to hit the ground running. Um, with the 2025 season, um, we only brought back four returners on offense. Our defense was loaded, probably led the DFW in statistics on every category. But offense, we only had four returners, two offensive linemen, 1,000-yard back, and four-star receiver that's committed to Nebraska. So it was a lot of question marks, you know what I'm saying, going into the season, like who's going to make plays, who's going to do this, who's going to do that. We lost a 3-year starter at quarterback. You go back and watch Crowley football the last 2 years, you see a kid that can hurt you running the ball, can hurt you throwing the ball. So defenses really couldn't play one thing against us because we were so explosive on offense just because of our quarterback situation. So coming into this year, quarterback was our biggest question mark. Of course, we both know that you got to have a quarterback to run the show.
Yeah, you got
especially when you
that 4-star receiver. We got to have somebody to get it to him, right?
gotta have
And you got
somebody
to
to
be
get
able
it
to
to him.
protect him so that he can get it to him.
Yeah, correct. And so going into the season, and trying to RPO, trying to play with different tempos. Quarterback, that was really the position group that kept me up at night the most. Because again, it's not about what the coaches know, what the coordinators know. When you get out there, it's the kids versus the kids. So, like I said, we ended up going through. We had two quarterbacks start the season with a senior. He transferred in last during the spring last year. And then we also had a freshman that played for me as, a quarterback. He was in a loaded quarterback class. So ended up being, we finished the year with the freshman quarterback, kind of gave him the keys to the car to kind of spring us into where we are right now. We're going to do spring ball this coming up spring, and we're going to do true spring ball where we're putting the pads on and actually getting after it to kind of solidify that QB1 spot so that when we get to the summer and the fall, we're not, wasting reps or kind of in a situation where we feel like, oh, nobody gives us a surefire thing that they're good at. Instead of just playing different guys at different spots, to have one guy that we're ready to roll with, and then we'll live with it.
Yeah, so like from the OC chair, like when you got told you were doing that and kind of changes some of the framework of, like I said, the staff framework of like who's doing what and bring in new guys in because you had so many guys depart for new gigs essentially. So like how is that process going from like, okay, I was an offensive line coach last year working with another offensive line coach to, okay, now I have to coach coaches on what we're trying to do schematically and building that framework that you said.
Got you. So, bro, to be honest, and it's crazy enough that you say that. So the news of Coach McHugh, the previous coordinator, going to SMU, kind of took me by surprise because Coach McHugh's my guy. You know what I'm saying? And so I was his right hand man in the offensive scheme. So it wasn't a surprise to me because I knew that people were trying to poach him and all that good stuff. But crazy enough, I didn't find out from him that I was gonna be the OC. I was like, when I found out the news, bro, it was like Coach Lynn had called me, and I was in Houston, believe it or not. I was on the way home from Houston. He says, Coach Hill. And so I knew it was something weird going on because, Coach Lynn calling you on a Sunday
Yeah.
is really slim to none, especially in the off season. And so he was like, you ready? And so, me, I said, for what exactly? What you talking about, coach? And so he was like, I think Coach McHugh's going to end up going to college. And I said, oh, dang, that's crazy because he didn't tell me anything about this. And so I was like, but of course, yeah, let's roll. So like you said, going from, O-line coach, run game coordinator to OC kind of overnight, it was kind of drinking out of fire hose. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Just trying to get the framework of, oh, hey, I'm not in this mode anymore. I got to put all these different pieces into an offensive philosophy to where I can teach coaches coming in so I can make the adjustments that I want to make to the system. With kids, you don't want to overload them and try to change too much because I had in my imagination to go back to our Queen City verbiage, and do all that good stuff. But I knew that our kids, they had already been in the system for 2 years. So I was going to adapt me to fit the system so our kids would be successful. And so it took a lot of huddle practice scripts, took a lot of Zoom meetings, took a lot of talking on the phone with our coaches. We call this, but in your offense, what do you call that? So it took a lot of that, and it took a lot of baby steps, bro, believe it or not, because even though as adults that's in the game, we know football, verbiage is another thing. So if you've been knowing something is this for so many years and you coach offense for this so many years, and once you get a new system or new verbiage, it's kind of hard to change. And so the thing that I was blessed with, Coach Coach, is that my guys that I got that came in on the opposite side, I think everybody but one has been a coordinator before. So it was one of those things to where I didn't have to do a whole lot of teaching, so to speak, but just the framework, like you said, of telling guys, oh, this is how we do this, this is how we do that. And so being able to bounce and not have to micromanage guys on this and that, let them coach their guys how they want to coach them. And then as long as we get the job done, let's get the job done. So I think going from a position coach to a coordinator in a short period of time was more so managing the room versus schematics, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Like, when I know from like my perspective, like I've gone into OC positions where it's like, okay, it's a clean slate. There's not a single person in the room that was here before, essentially.
Yeah.
But I've also been the only new guy to come in, and I'm the OC, and like I'm coming into a place that's been kind of built up in a certain way, and then having to adapt. So, yeah, I mean that's spot on. You kind of have to. Each situation's a little bit different, right? And so, the fact that you guys had some of that, like your kids already know you. They knew your running backs coach. They know Coach Lynn. They know like what's been going on verbiage wise, and then it's just a matter of, okay, here's the tweaks that you're gonna make, and just matching it to the terms that make sense to those kids. And then having like coaches come in that have been coordinators before, like that's like it's a weird thing at first when you first think about it, because it's like, okay, am I gonna step on people's toes? Are they gonna be stepping on my toes? And in reality, like, coaches love ball at the end of the day, and if you find good people, then that just means it becomes a more collaborative effort. So like that's probably the best case scenario for, like, especially the overnight, like you said, position coach to OC overnight thing. That's probably the best case scenario you could have probably found yourself in.
Yeah.
Because the worst thing ever is when you find out that, and there's been people there before you, and then it's like, oh, I'm stepping on everybody's toes right now. Now I have to walk on eggshells. That's not as much of a fun position.
Heck yeah, bro. And it was crazy. Last year, I got, promoted
right
to coaching being the head freshman coach. And so I said, this shit sucks. As a position coach, I'm like, dude, I just want to coach the O-line. Like, I could coach JV. I had never had to really coach freshmen before, like that closely. But being the freshman head coach, I had to call the plays as well. And so Coach Lynn had kind of set me up to be in that role, but I just didn't know it. You know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah.
And so I ended up, calling the freshman games. We had a loaded freshman class. Those guys, and again, I used to tell those guys, a monkey could come out here and coach you guys. Y'all are that talented. And so we ended up having a great season, man. Believe it or not, me and our defensive coordinator now, we both got kind of promoted into those roles based off what we did as freshman coaches. He was the defensive coordinator. I was the offensive coordinator, head coach. And Coach Lynn is a guy, he believes in advancing his coaches. So he doesn't want to have to go out and find coordinators. He believes that, I'm gonna put you in these roles to get you ready for that time when it's time for you to become that. And so we talk about it all the time. Like, it's crazy because we tell our young coaches that we have on staff, you never know who's watching. You never know, what you're going to have to do, when you're going to have to do it. Because I never thought in my wildest dreams that I was going to be a 6A DFW coordinator.
Heck yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just coming from, my background, East Texas kid, small town football. And I love East Texas football. I love the small town community culture of it. I just, it's always crazy because I tell people all the time, you never know what's going to happen where you have to step into a role that you may not think that you're ready for. And at the end of the day, when I got into the season and got into the first couple of games, you always wish you could have some calls back.
Oh,
I
no
just
doubt.
go and you watch the film. I'm like, man, this is, it's a faster speed, but this is just like how the players on freshman football. Bigger, faster kids, more athletic at times, better competition at times. But, this is what I signed up for, and I'm finally here. So it's kind of one of those moments to where I was just like, man, we made it. So let's do this.
From Livingston, Texas, right, as the first coaching spot,
Yep.
and then you go into Queen City, which is a total like tear down rebuild,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's just been that stepping stone, that ladder process, man. So I've been fired up the whole way for you. Like I've been loving watching the whole thing.
Yeah, man.
Take me into
Appreciate it, bro.
the game plan room. Like what's that like in your chair? Working with like coordinators that are now your position guys, like that first year, like, okay, here's the game plan. Tell me about, that process.
Okay. So on the weekends, we work on the whole weekend. We work both days, Saturdays and Sundays. I know a lot of guys are getting away from Saturdays and Sundays, but Coach Lynn's an old school guy. We believe in working both days. So on Saturdays, our breakdown is the previous opponent. Our kids come in, watch the film, treatment, all the good stuff. So after everybody leaves, this is just me by myself. There will be some weekends where I didn't do this, but a lot of the weekends I did. I would stay and try to, break down the next week's opponent, but I would tell all my guys to go home, kind of clear your brain a little bit, go enjoy some family time, watch college football, because we all know Trick plays college football every week. You always find one or two.
Yep.
But just, go clear your mind a little bit, especially with the season that we had. It was big for me for those guys to get some, kind of some rest and relaxation on the weekends, because that, it can beat you down if you're not having to get what you want to have. But
yes, it can.
I literally was sitting in the office probably 2 extra hours or come in 2 extra hours before everybody got there. I go from the box back, obviously. See, what are we good at and what are they not good at defending. We have our bread and butter play, bread and butter everything, but what are the change ups, the adjustments that we can make that we can steal a possession or two, still 14, 21 points on. And so I would break that down by run, pass, RPO, protection, play action pass, and trick play. So a lot of the base kind of ideas that I would get would be on those days where everybody else was gone in the quiet time framework. So on Saturday, that would be my Saturday. I would watch the last three for sure first. I would watch those last three first, and then I would try to go back and catch tendencies from the beginning of the season to where we are right now. Working in Queen City with you, for you. The biggest thing I learned was the base plays that everybody's gonna come back to, bread and butter plays. Find them in the first 3 games. So I always been big on that since the Queen City days. So shout out to you for that, because I always keep it in my back pocket. So then on Sundays we come in. I would always come in probably an hour or two earlier than everybody else. Write down all my thoughts. Write down run game, pass game. So the way we do it is we work off a Google Sheet. So on the weekends, we would type in ideas, type in all the charting that we need to do, knowing tendencies, knowing what they do in different field zones. So when we get there on Sundays, we kind of double back on that to make sure everybody's on the same page with that. After that point, we have a kind of all-staff offensive meeting with Coach Lynn, where we come up and put our ideas on, this is the pass game that we like, this is the run game that we like. And like I told you earlier, with my guys being coordinators, of course, I'm going to, double check and make sure we're all on the same page, see what I like, what I don't like as much. But I let those guys have, freedom to be like, hey, coach, I saw this on this down and distance. Okay, cool. Tell me how, tell me why it's going to work. And if I watch it myself and I see it, okay, cool, let's roll. I know a lot of the times I would just bounce back and forth between the, O-line running back, H-back coach, kind of pod, talking through run game, different fits, different stuff the defense does or did. And then I would come back and come into quarterbacks and wide receivers, and pass game is already done. And of course, we already talked about it, the general ideas. So once we get to our meeting, everything is already done. After the meeting, We'll go into kind of a run game protection meeting with everybody because, of course, and this is one of the things that I take really, 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 really seriously, learning from you, protections and run game. If you know it and you know how to protect it, you can have a successful offense. So that would always be kind of the last tad bit of everything that we did for the week. Make sure everybody's on the same page of protections. Who are we slotting to? What are we going to do in case they start bringing the crib? Okay, what is our
Yeah.
emergency plan? So making sure that everybody from O-line coach to wide receiver coach knows what exactly is going on in case we get into these pressure situations. And so that's usually the flow of our Saturdays and Sundays. Of course, there are some times where I wish I say, dang, man, I wish we were one of those staffs that only works one day a week, on a weekend rather. But then there's some times where you get into those games and you're prepared more because you spent the hours looking at it, charting it, rewatching it, looking at it, charting it, rewatching it, looking at it, charting, rewatching it. And so I believe that that's kind of what has pushed me to the next step, being prepared, so to speak.
Yeah, for sure. It's one of those things like obviously I've been on both sides of that. We've been on staffs together even where like we'd come in for a long time Saturday and then it would just be like, okay, let's jump on a Zoom call Sunday, right? Or like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
um, hey, let's just FaceTime this real quick. I'm on the board. I'm at the office. Like I'd send sometimes the position guys home on Sunday when I had a little bit more like I guess freedom or that long leash from the head coach. Like obviously you and I with Eric, he kind of just let me go, and
Mm-hmm.
so we kind of just did whatever we needed to. Um, and as you kind of like, I don't know that there's a right or a wrong way to do the weekends. Uh, I think at different times I've kind of have different thoughts. Like, oh man, that's for the birds, man. I don't want any part of that anymore. And then sometimes I'm
Yeah.
like, it's really useful though. And
Yeah.
so like I think you get to a point though where especially as you kind of do this more and more, you get a few more seasons where you kind of create that like in your brain that if then chart, like okay, well if they're doing this then I'm going to do that, and okay if
Yeah.
they start doing this then we do that, and it becomes the system that you build over a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we are talking about some of the Queen City verbiage, like okay, if we're lining up deuce right into the field and you got the overhang to the boundary side, well, I'm just gonna run counter to the field,
Yeah.
right? And then if you start playing it more as like the 4-2-5 nickel to the field kind of variation, then great, we're just gonna run power to the boundary with like the bang RPO, and
Yeah.
it just becomes like you lose some of the I don't need to do as much, but like if I didn't work both days during the weekends when I was younger and when I was like first kind of doing this, like man, I needed that time. Like I really
Yeah.
needed that time to learn it and develop it, and it's morphed every year still because I'm always trying to like improve upon things.
Mm-hmm.
But like that don't take for granted, coaches, like the fact that you get to do this 7 days a week, right? Because like
Definitely.
sometimes at some point it's probably going to go away, and so like there is value in there, but you also don't want to burn yourself out because, like you said, like
Yeah.
as many opportunities as you can to get home and get some R&R and family time, and you got to be able to do that because the season, like even though high school football, if you don't make the playoffs, it's what 14 weeks in total, August,
14 weeks straight.
yeah, and so
And that's not even including your summer workouts, whatever you do during the summer. So,
facts, and it'll hit you hard and hard and harder every year if you don't take
mm-hmm.
that time, but. That's cool, man. So like what was y'all's bread and butter this year? Like that was what was successful for you
Man.
guys?
So, Coach, I'm going. Let me start somewhere else, and then I'll get to the bread and butter part.
Yeah, yeah, hit me.
Okay. So, our philosophy was, you know, Queen City. So, believe it or not, Queen City and Crowley were almost the identical same offense. So, it was kind of a Queen City / Crowley plus Chapel Hill air raid kind of principles and tempo variations. That was where I started. You know, you could step into it like, oh, we're gonna be this. We're only gonna do this. we're only gonna do that. And then you get to the season and you're like, oh dang, we gotta go somewhere else completely with this.
Yep.
All right. So, H-back, 11 personnel, 10 personnel, being able to get out of those, just switching one player on, one player off. That was in my head. You go from year one at Crowley where we were 5 wide and we were throwing the ball around the yard, probably threw for 5,000 the first year, to the second year we were run the pill. Like, it didn't matter what type of box you gave us. We were always gonna be +1, and we probably ran for 4,000 yards. And so kind of finding a balance in between there. But what ended up happening is my H-back got hurt early in the season, broke his collarbone. And so it came to a point to where our wide receiver room wasn't that deep. We probably had 3 receivers, maybe 4, and your H-back is gone. Oh snap, what do I do now? So it ended up going from being, tempo oriented, trying to get up and down the field, to more so going, 12, 20, 21, 22 personnel, huddling up. That was never a Coach Hill thing. I was always, let's go fast, catch defenses, make them sub, make them use timeouts. That was always my kind of spiel, but, getting to a position where we weren't great, or we wouldn't have a great spot at quarterback. We were all young. Like I said earlier, we only had 4 returns off of an explosive offense. What do I do to make it easier on our kids?
Right.
So it ended up being a multiple offense, back in 2010, 2011, where you would play Madden and you could scroll through the playbooks where it'd be multiple and you would see all types of crazy formations, all types of plays. That's exactly what we morphed into.
Okay.
Like I said, our bread and butter run game was power. If we wanted to, when in doubt, run it. And so we ended up being pretty good at zone later on in the year. We had some GH and some true GT, but if it was, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 4th and 1, 4th and 2, I'm going to get in a heavy personnel, probably 12, 13 personnel, and we're going to run some variation of power. It's going to be something like that. In the past game, it was a cross. Cross is our, really our base pass. You can always do so much with cross, different tags, different motions. So we were pretty good at that. Curl was another good one for us. Just throwing, and believe it or not, you were big on this. And then when I went to Chapel Hill with Coach Reardon, he was also big on this. Just line up and throw hitches all the way down the field. So
that's there, baby. Just take it.
Just take the hitch.
It's just one broken tackle away from going 80.
Yep. And so, but, we didn't get too complicated, man. Like, I went back, last week and did our end of season, evaluation and self-scout. Man, we didn't do a whole lot on offense, man. We lined up, played football, tried to play community football. Like I said earlier, our defense, man, they were so loaded to where if we got the ball to the 50 and I had to punt the ball, I was okay with it because I knew playing the field position game, our defense was going to get us a stop. It didn't matter like where the ball was. Long as we got to a good spot to where we could punt the ball and play field position, we were going to win that battle every time. And so, and of course, people are going to be like, Crowley, y'all a record. Y'all were trash, right? So we went 3-8 on the year. Okay? We went 3-8. But the story that you won't see in that 3-8 season, Coach Ramey, is we lost 5 ball games that were 1 possession games. So you look at a 3-8 season versus an 8-3 season, just off 5 possession game, 5 1 possession games, and I'm talking like 6 points or less. So you go back and you look, it's like, wow, these guys, they're actually better than a 3-8 record. And so our strength of schedule, like, again, you look at our schedule, it's loaded. So we start the season, we're supposed to scrimmage DeSoto, just one state, convincingly, right?
Convincingly.
Okay? We're supposed to scrimmage them. Something ended up happening. They went to another scrimmage. It was supposed to be like a 3-way scrimmage. But overall, you look at strength of schedule. We're supposed to scrimmage them. We take the trip down 45 and go play North Shore because nobody else in the state will play them, you know. So this is year 2 of us playing them. Okay, or of course, state championship. Okay, in our district, North Crowley, coming off a state championship last year, they go to the quarterfinals this year, lose to Allen. Okay, and we're playing we lost to them 27-6. We were up 6-0 at halftime. Okay, so then we finished the district schedule. We get Southlake in the first round, played in the semifinals against DeSoto. So again, like I tell people all the time, don't look at teams' records because it was, me calling plays from the box. I don't get the field interaction anymore. That's one of the things I miss. But after the game, listen to the Southlake guys say, because we were worried about you guys, because y'all's record doesn't reflect what's on film.
Right.
So you actually watch our game film. You watch what we do explosively. And, it's a different type of feel when guys are saying, "Hey, we were worried about a 3-17 beating us." And of course, in our locker room, we don't care what our record is. We're gonna line up and play football. We don't fear logos. We don't fear anybody. We'll play anybody, as you can see in the teams I just named.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's one of those things to where we believe in what we do, man, and we're gonna line up and play, and we're gonna give you hell for the time we're out there. Of course, we weren't everything I wanted to be, as a competitor and being a part of explosive offenses from the very beginning of my coaching career, going from Queen City to Chapel Hill, I've always been a part of explosive offenses. Regardless of the team record, overall record, we could move the ball and we could put points on the board. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things to where this year we ended up finishing, our average was like 430 yards offensive game.
Yeah.
But we still left a lot of yards and a lot of points on the board. Our end of the year points per game was 21, not great, and a situation or a game where I can just vividly remember, man, we're playing Southlake, the number 1 team in the state at the time, first round of the playoffs in their house, in 6A. If you're the lower seed, you go, you go to the home field advantage. So we marched to the red zone. The score is 35-0. So at this time, 35-0 is kind of a stretch, right? But at this time, that's the closest game Southlake had ever played the whole year, 35-0.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And we marched to the red zone. Believe this, bro. We marched to the red zone 4 times. Didn't score. 0 points. 4 red zone attempts. And so you map out the game. Of course, you never want to play if this, then that, But in my head, I'm thinking, man, if we go score for those 4 times, the game would have been 28-28, right? We give up a punt return late to their kid, the wide receiver that's going to Ohio State. He's a 5-star. He's the real deal. I will tell you that. He's the real deal. But if we don't give up a punt return late to give up the 35-0, score, if we go score those 4 times, it's a 28-28 ball game. And so that's kind of the driving point that I've been, getting to our kids, man, that when it's time to play, we got to play and we got to produce. You know what I'm saying? It does us no good to produce, against the teams that we know we should beat. You know what I'm saying? It's those moments where you go into a Southlake Carroll, you face a North Crowley or North Shore or DeSoto, where you make a name for yourself.
Gotta get them to drink that Kool-Aid that they can go score against those guys.
Yeah. You move the ball up and down the field, and you get to the 10 and the 5-yard line, and we can't punch it in. We gotta get more creative and do different stuff so that we can, get to that next step.
It's like that game we played. We played Wascom at home again with Braden Yancey at quarterback, right? And it's like little sophomore Braden was he threw for 250, 280 against Wascom, and it was like, man, like we were right there against those guys.
Yeah, and which at the time Wascom was loaded, like crazy loaded.
Yes.
Yeah, man. And
you can do it against anybody on any given week. You getting the kids to buy into that fact.
Mm-hmm.
That's that's oftentimes the more challenging part in coaching high school ball to me than like the scheme or the coaching on the field, the technique side. Like it's just getting your kids to believe that they
Yeah.
can. Once you
Yeah.
get that hurdle over, you get over that hurdle, like the rest of it kind of becomes easy.
Yeah, man. And it's crazy you say that, man, because like I just told you about how our season is going. We get to district play, and this is another thing to anybody that's listening to this, anybody that's coaching, like trying to get your kids to finish the season, especially when you're having a bad season, is always the hardest part.
Yeah.
So every week, Coach Lynn would always say that we got another opportunity. The Lord has blessed us with another opportunity. So we go and listen to this, Ramy. This is going to be crazy. Okay. Over and our district record was 2-4. Okay. We put up enough points in those games to where we get the fourth place spot in the playoffs, even after we lost to somebody that beat us and had a better record. So that's why I always tell people, like, get your kids to keep playing, man, because you never know what can happen. And so, and week by week, of course, we needed some help. We needed somebody to beat somebody. We needed this team to not score this many points. But at the end of the day, we scored enough points to where it didn't matter,
Yeah.
So, and like you said, man, just finding ways to get your kids to play, no matter who you got out there.
Yeah. That's shoot, more than half the battle. That really is the battle. But
Yeah.
So coming off a year where you guys had 4 starters coming back, how many do you anticipate being back next season?
So of those 4, we're only going to lose 2
Okay.
off the line. They're a big 2. Don't get me wrong, big huge 2. Okay, we're talking 2 and 3 year starters on the offensive line. Like I said earlier, we had one of our transfer quarterbacks came in. He was a senior. So really 3 players. But I believe our JV team, man, they were a game away from district championship. And like I said, experience is the greatest teacher that we have. So our kids now that are coming back, that they should be ready to play, especially with us having a full offseason, spring ball. We should be in a good spot, man, to where we just come out and do what we do. Is we just got to execute and play, with great intensity. That's been our word. Our words, we call it the 3 E's or E cubed, kind of Coach Lynn came up, and it's execution, effort, and energy. You got those 3, you'll always be in a good spot to win the ball game. So execution, like I said, man, those 5 games where we're 1 possession away from winning the ball game, and it comes down to execution. Not throwing the field hitch when we're running smash all the way down the field.
Right.
Just simple stuff like that. Just being smart, executing, and doing what we need to do.
Facts. Well, Hill, this puts us a little over 30 minutes here, so I think this is a good time to kind of wrap things up, man. Anything else you just kind of want to throw out there, or like
RTDB?
There you go. What's that?
Run that damn ball. And don't be afraid to throw the hitch all the way down the field, man.
Yeah. If it's there, take it, man.
They'll let you throw it. Throw it.
Where can people find you, man?
Hey, man, you can find me on Twitter at Coach Hill 17. I'm on Twitter. I love to tap in with coaches. I'm always trying to learn, trying to get better, man. And I've got this running joke, Ramy, now that just because you coach the slot T, that doesn't mean that we can't be friends. I want to learn it.
There you go.
So if you're a slot T guy, please DM me so I can learn it. Because at some point, Ramy, I hope it's not true, but at some point, I'm probably going to have to run that.
Yeah. So listen, the best jobs in Texas,
to learn it.
The best jobs in Texas, you go when it's time to retire. Like you and the wife, you move out to a small town where there's like low expectations. There's some like mamas that really want to cook you like extra meals on the weekends for your coaching their kids. You just go run the slot T, and it's a great life. I'm telling you.
Man, listen, finish with the ball and the lead when the clock hit zeros.
That's the goal. All right,
That's
babe.
the goal every time.
I appreciate you doing this. We'll talk soon.
For sure,
we'll wrap this thing up. And real quick, what's your favorite taco spot down here in Houston? Hit me with it.
Oh, Listen, I'll go every time I step foot into Houston. Danya Ladies.
Follow them on Instagram if you aren't, because man, they put out some fire stuff.
Listen, Danya Ladies, if you happen to listen or see this, sponsor your boy in the DFW, okay? Listen, I need
another location up there.
Hey man, they're opening everything in Houston, man. It's hard. You almost gotta put in a 3 weeks RSVP to get it done, your ladies. Now,
yeah.
You used to when they had the old locations, you could just walk in and freely, order your food, get some surf and turf, egg rolls, enjoy your food, and leave. Now it's 2 hour, 3 hour wait. Like, man, TikTok is ruining the society, man.
Well, when you're back down here next time, we'll swing by and we'll put a reservation in.
Definitely, let's do it.
All right, man. Take care. We'll talk later.
All right, brother. All right, for sure, bro. Yep.